Okay, guys, we need to have a chat. Because just about every day somebody asks me why I do not stream my music. And don't get me wrong, that's a completely fair question, although sometimes I swear I can hear some of your voices. It's 2020. Nobody listens to CDs anymore. Just about everybody streams their music, so you should too. So today, I'm here to address why I do not stream music, why I likely won't be doing so anytime soon, and what the implications of all of that may be. But first, you know what? Let's just go ahead and acknowledge the many benefits of streaming because I get it, guys. There's a lot of reasons why streaming just makes sense. Starting with the first thing that pops to my head, which is you get to save space. Instead of making room for hundreds of vinyl records and CDs, instead everything gets to be stored on a hard drive, or even better yet, somebody else's hard drive. So now you have access to thousands upon thousands of tracks that you don't even have to worry about storing in your home. There's a lot to be said for that. And the implication of this is you also get to avoid the physical process of listening to music. For example, if I want to listen to an album right now, I got to stand up, I got to go over, pick out a CD that I want to listen to, take the CD to my system, in this instance, put it in the CD tray, probably leave a bunch of CDs hanging around on the floor. That doesn't look very good. And I got to walk over here, sit back down, press play, fast forward to the track I want to listen to, and then I'm finally ready to go. Whereas for those of you who stream, you just literally pull up your phone, your tablet, your whatever, and then within seconds, you're listening to whatever it is that you want to listen to. There's a lot to be said for that. And then on top of all of that, streaming allows you to discover a whole bunch of new music. That's also pretty awesome. And then let's face it, the sound quality doesn't suck. It's not bad. So with all of that being said, how come I have purposely chosen not to stream my own music? Well, the answer boils down to two things. The first is utility. The bottom line is I just don't see a point for streaming in my system, and especially given my lifestyle. Because here's the deal. Right now, this system is only 5 or 6 feet away from me. I actually like owning physical media, and quite frankly, I have not aged to the point to where I feel achy all the time in the process of getting up to select music and bending down to put it in a CD tray. None of that bothers me. I actually don't mind the process at all. And then when it comes to discovering new music, well, here's the deal. I have a computer for that. And I have access to most of the apps that you guys do. And that is how I discover a whole bunch of new music. And best of all, usually for free on YouTube. And I swear if somebody comments, "Oh, did you know that it's technically streaming when you listen on YouTube?" Get out. Get out now. Out. Anyways, that's the bottom line. There's no utility in it for me. I'm in a small room. I don't need to stream. And the second, and this is where things get a little bit more controversial, maybe even offensive to some of you, is sound quality. Look, streaming may not sound bad, but I am, number one, I'm spoiled with my CD player. And then number two, I am a reviewer. And while zero fidelity may be a hobby to me, it's still not something that I intend on doing as a career. I still take my reviews pretty seriously. I try my best to give you all the most reliable assessments that I can. And in order to do that, you need at least a couple variables. You need to be in a room that you're familiar with, which I am, something that's reasonably well treated, which this is, and then you need at least something in your system that is like the bedrock. And for me, that's my source. That's my CD player. And quite frankly, it's really, really good. And it makes most digital gear that I've heard under 10 grand just sound awful by comparison, especially streamers. I'm sorry to say it, but this is the one aspect of reviewing hi-fi to where I don't know how to remove my bias. It's really hard. With other products, I can do it all day long. Quite frankly, I've reviewed plenty of gear at this channel that I've given good reviews to that on a personal level, I would never even think about owning it. But hopefully you wouldn't be able to tell because I wanted to honor the product and not my own bias. But when it comes to digital, I can't do that. And this is why. It's the AMR 777 SE CD player. So the architecture of this player has been around for roughly 10 years now. So I actually owned the original 777 before it was a signature edition. And of course now I own the signature edition. The reason why I like this player so much is, number one, I'm big on tone. And tonally speaking, this is one of the best CD players I've ever heard, period. Even if we bump the price up to 20 or 30 grand. And the reason why I say that is, number one, it has that natural tone, that body, density, that dimensionality that a really good analog turntable system has. I'm not saying it's always going to be on par with a really nice vinyl setup, but it's really close. And then on top of that, you get the benefits of a good digital system, that low noise floor, that dynamic output, good detail. This is a beastly player. And I've yet to find anything even remotely close to the price that I like as much, let alone prefer. When I try all these DACs and whatnot that people rave about, I don't really care for them compared to the AMR. They just don't sound as natural to me. So why don't I even talk about the CD player then? Well, quite frankly, it's because AMR exists pretty much in name only. Like, the focus of the company is actually on what's supposed to be their subsidiary, Hi-Fi Audio. And that's the bread and butter. That's what pays the bills, and I totally get it. But beyond that, I mean, this player is pretty much EOL, or in other words, it's had its end of life. They literally only have a few units left in the world that they could even sell. And beyond that, there's going to be the question of support after everything is said and done, because a lot of the parts inside of this, you can only get them from AMR. You have the transformers. You can't buy those anywhere else, only through AMR. The capacitors, those are 3-in-1 capacitors that are meant to compete directly with Dueland. You can only get those from AMR. And with pieces like capacitors, you can't just buy those and keep them in a baggie and take them out on a rainy day 15 years later when you need them. They'll be dried out. So it's not something I can recommend. And plus, it's not cheap. It's a $5,000 CD player. But it's what I have. It's what I love. And it's the main reason why I just avoid reviewing DACs and other CD players, because usually for me, it's such a letdown listening to other things. So now it's time to talk about what are the implications of all this. Well, here's the deal, guys. I think it's reasonable for some of you out there to say, okay, look, I get it. Streaming's not for you. You don't need it in your life, and you have a really good CD player that you enjoy that you think sounds better. Totally makes sense, Sean. But here's the problem. Most of us stream our music, and we don't have this supposedly wickedly awesome CD player. So how can your reviews then be relatable to us? And I think that is a fantastic question. And the honest to God truth is, it's basically going to boil down to two factors, which is feedback. Feedback from the engineers of the products that I review, and feedback from you all. You see, I know not everybody is going to completely agree with this, but I feel like a good product review should be objective, at least to an extent. I feel like every product has a natural performance envelope that's based off of engineering choices. In the case of components, it's more going to be electrical engineering choices. And then with speakers, it's kind of a mix between that and acoustic engineering choices. There's always going to be implications of each design, and it's my job to figure out what those are and relay that information to you in a way that is reliable. And so far, it's worked out incredibly well. But if the day comes to where engineers start saying, Sean, you reported this certain experience with the product, and quite frankly, that's not exactly in line with not only what we were going for, but quite frankly, we just haven't experienced that. If they start saying that, and if you guys start saying that, then that is when I need to consider whether or not I should even still do reviews anymore. Or whether or not I just bite the bullet and buy into the whole streaming thing just to stay relevant in the hi-fi space. But here's the deal. Again, Zero Fidelity, for those of you who don't know, Zero Fidelity is a volunteer gig. It is not something that I do for a living. It is not something I want to do for a living. And I don't even consider it to be a brand or a business. So I really don't have an interest in staying relevant. I'm not going to change the way that I enjoy music and that I evaluate equipment just to appease a crowd. Yeah, that is going to be my red line. So the implications right now is that if anything, the latest Marantz video taught me is that I should stay away from any product that has networking capabilities, like period. If that's a huge part of the product, then I just need to stay away. Let somebody else talk about it, because at the end of the day, it's just going to disappoint the majority of you who are hoping to hear about the performance of that product from the perspective of streaming. And I think that's a very fair compromise. Stick with what I know, what I'm familiar with, what I can accommodate, and then leave everything else to everybody else. So, guys, I think I now thoroughly covered this topic. I'd be surprised if any of you are still watching. This video is actually over 10 minutes in length, which is kind of crazy. But anyways, guys, that's my thoughts on this subject. As always, at the end here, I have no idea what to say, so I'm just going to close out this video. All right, guys, take it easy. Until next time, peace. Actually, you know what, guys? I just looked at what I filmed, and I don't mind saying, I think I actually did a pretty good job for a random one-take video. But just the same, I left out two important points that I wanted to make. The first is something I wanted to emphasize, which is, hey, look, just because I don't stream doesn't mean I look down on people who do. Enjoy your music in a way that best fits your lifestyle, whether that's streaming, listening to analog, listening to CDs in my case, whether it's on a hi-fi system, or even listening to some Bluetooth speaker in your shower. It doesn't really matter. So long as you're having fun, I mean, that's all that's important here. And then number two, yes, while I am very biased towards my AMR 777 SE, it doesn't mean I've closed the door on streaming or other digital sources. Far from it. Tech keeps evolving, things change, and sometimes even personal tastes change. So I will continue to keep an open mind with digital technology. It's just for now, I haven't found anything that I prefer over the 777 SE. But I'm confident that one day that'll happen. And when it does, I can guarantee that if I still am doing this channel, I will tell you about it. Anyways, guys, that's all I wanted to add. Thanks for watching, and peace.